Hey, it's Larry Sharpe here at FreedomFest having amazing conversations, talking about morals and ethics and also about human respect. And I'm very lucky today. I have with me the one and only Dan Fishman. How are you, sir?
Good to see you.
Yes,
My name
please.
is Dan Fishman. I am the Executive Director of Let.Live.
There we go. So Let.Live, that makes me think about the idea of you obviously are going to be talking about not using coercion and getting people to do things, right?
Exactly.
Not wanting to use either violence or threat of violence or theft or fraud, none of that at all.
Exactly.
But isn't there a worry that at one point, when someone's looking at what they believe is right, that they think it's okay to use coercion, right? I don't want you and your family and friends to be addicted to drugs. I care about you. My friend died of a drug overdose. So I should now create a rule or a law to stop drugs so that so you don't get hurt, right? So people don't get hurt. Isn't something like that where others are going to be affected? Isn't that the time to use coercion?
There is an argument that some people make. I have a moral imperative to do this thing.
There we go.
Because I have to make sure that I intervene. And I will argue that you and I have probably seen instances in our life where we did feel like we had a moral imperative to do something.
Sure.
Case in point, what we're doing here right now. I feel like I have a moral imperative to try to make sure that other people can enjoy freedom as much as they can.
Sure.
Now, how do I do that? I go out and I talk to people, and I try to convince them, and I try to persuade them, but it would be very hypocritical to say, I'm going to force you to be free.
Right.
And so the thing that I want to do, I want to exemplify, is that if I try to be authoritarian in a way to help somebody, I'm actually not helping them.
But what you're talking about is theory.
Right.
What I'm talking about is actual life and death. I mean, someone I know died of a drug overdose.
Yeah.
Your friends and family and children and stuff might die of a drug overdose. So I'm talking life and death. Isn't that more important? Shouldn't I then move towards coercion? It's life and death here.
What isn't life or death? Driving cars is life and death, okay? Texting, right? Texting while you're driving. All these things that you can do that are life or death. Walking down the street.
But texting while you're driving is illegal. See, they already made a law to protect you because they care about you.
I'm pretty sure that it hasn't stopped anybody.
Okay.
Secondly, because I will say the most dangerous thing that I've done recently is hold a sign for a political candidate and watch people almost hit me while they were texting and driving. But the idea that I would use coercion to save somebody is almost a contradiction in terms. Now, there are some times that I will say, you know what? I have to use force. I'll give you an example. If you were looking the wrong way and there was a car that was about to hit you, I might jump and knock you out of the way and not wait and ask for your consent.
I hope you do that, by the way. If you see it, Dan, please do that.
I will.
Good, okay.
However, at that point in time, I have to weigh the moral imperative. Because if I had 5 minutes and I were able to say to you, there's a car coming, and if you stand here, you're going to get hit, and I can do that persuasion beforehand, I solve the problem the next day when it's the same spot, and a car might be coming, and you'll be like, oh, I'm going to look out and pay attention, okay? There are some very few occasions where we do have a moral imperative, and we say, okay, we have to act in this time. When we do that, when we're in that situation, okay, there's a cost involved with it.
Sure.
And like every other action that we take in our lives, you have to weigh the cost against what you're getting out of it.
So isn't the cost then, if I use coercion, I feel like what you're saying, and tell me if I'm off here, if I use coercion, aren't I then somehow depleting someone's happiness, someone's harmony, someone's prosperity by using coercion? Even if, in theory, I'm trying to do the right thing to help them with their drug problem or something like that.
It is the definition of the word. If I weren't depleting your happiness, I wouldn't have to coerce you. I could just persuade you.
Okay, got it.
And so anytime that you have to coerce somebody, you are making them do something against their will, and you are using force to do so. Persuasion is me convincing you.
Got it.
Coercion is me using force. And you're right. If I use coercion against you, there is no point in time at which I can coerce you, and you have not been lessened in your happiness.
Got it.
Because I have taken away from you the one thing that we know makes people incredibly happy, which is autonomy and the ability to make their own choices. There's a crazy...
But what if I'm wrong? Does it matter if I'm wrong? Like, I think it's great if I don't know, take so many drugs that my body can't handle that I kill myself. I think it's a wonderful idea. What if I'm wrong?
It depends on the consequences. You know, there is a legitimate question to be asked about that. Okay, if I see somebody make a mistake that I know may be fatal, okay, I would like to inform them that, look, you're about to kill yourself. You're about to do something terrible.
Okay.
You know, like, for example, a child who wants to stick their fork into the electrical socket.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to try to persuade them. However, if they keep going for it,
right,
and you have kids,
right?
You know what 2-year-olds are like.
Absolutely.
I might use a little coercion there.
Gotcha.
However, if I'm talking about a 2-year-old, I'm talking about a person.
Well, I'm talking only adults.
You're talking about adults.
I'm only talking about adults here.
Well, that's what I want to get to. Is I want to say, with 2-year-old, there are times that, you know, I've been through a modern education system. Used to be a special education teacher. I don't want to ever use coercion, but there are times in dealing with people who aren't fully formed as adults.
Sure.
You do it. Once a person becomes an adult, you take away from them that adulthood if you coerce them.
Got it.
If you force them to do something. And you are saying, I am pushing you back into the state where you are a child and I am the adult in the room. And when I use coercion is only ever about power. And it's about changing our relationship so that I have power over you. I don't want to live in a world where I have power over people.
But hold on, what about if it's not about individual power now? Now it's about the law or sovereignty, like very, very big issue now, immigration. Sure. Everyone's talking about it, right?
Yep.
So, look, you have undocumented workers or illegal migrants, whatever phrase you want to use, coming across the border, and now businesses are hiring them.
Right.
Now, businesses are hiring these people who should not be hired by our law. By our law, they should not be hired. It is illegal to hire those people. They should not be doing it. So in this case, shouldn't we use coercion to stop these businesses and punish them and say, you cannot hire these people, right? Because it's illegal. We sovereign nation. This now isn't, I guess, life or death in this case. Well, this is the law and sovereignty. Shouldn't we punish businesses then?
But it's still, I say no.
Okay.
And because, first of all, what you're talking about there is the definition of socialism. Okay?
Okay.
Socialism is when the government controls the means of production. And so when the government says that I, as an employer, can't hire the people that I want to work for me, you know, they're interfering in the market for labor. The government is controlling the market for labor, and they're doing it to benefit the people who benefit from government protection. So that's why, like a real socialist, right? Bernie Sanders will tell you he's a real socialist. That's why Bernie Sanders opposes open borders. In many ways, Bernie Sanders was the first guy to say, America first, American workers first.
Okay.
And so you see the people who are on the authoritarian positions, Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders, agree America first on immigration. They both want the same thing. But what about the people who want to hire somebody, okay? I run a software shop, okay? I want to hire software engineers, and there just aren't enough in the United States.
Sure.
My choice is either to send my money overseas or ideally have another software engineer move to the United States and I employ him here, where he's going to pay taxes here,
right,
where he's going to do that thing. It's a terrible
scenario. He's going to eat at the diners here, he's going to buy a car here.
Exactly,
sure.
And he's going to come to enjoy and be a proponent of freedom. I came to this country where I will complain about the United States and our government system, but we are the freest country on the planet.
Okay.
The problem is, I don't want to be freest, Larry. I want to be free. And there's a difference. And so that's my complaint, is that where the coercion comes in, it's actually not just coercion on the people who aren't allowed to cross the borders. It's coercion against people like me, and you're a business owner as well. It prevents us from hiring the employees that we would want to.
Okay, but aren't we then, if we do that, aren't we then making an error because now there are American workers who aren't getting those jobs now? Right, they're not getting jobs. And if the workers are illegal, they're not even paying taxes now. So the workers who come are not paying taxes, if they're illegal.
Yep.
If they're undocumented, right, they're not paying. And now Americans aren't getting jobs. Doesn't that make it okay to use coercion now?
It doesn't.
Okay.
Because when you use coercion to benefit one person over another, you are again taking away the ideas of adulthood. And you're saying, you know what? You are children and I am the person with the power. Okay. And the use of power to benefit one group over another is always wrong. Okay?
So you said always.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, are you saying now that the idea of using coercion, the idea of ignoring human respect, is a bad idea every single time?
Yes.
So the idea and concept of human respect is a natural principle.
Yeah, absolutely. There are, like I said, I think we point to like 3 or 4 scenarios. We'd say, there's such a moral imperative here that I'm going to intervene. Like, you can see situations where people are trying to kill themselves, and you know it's because they're mentally ill, okay? You may not be able to persuade them right in that moment. Is there a rationale to intervene then and use coercion to do it? I would say yes. Okay? I also have lost friends to suicide. And if I had been there and physically been able to intervene, I would have done it right in the moment. And I'd spent years trying to convince them not to do this thing.
Sure.
I can't tell you that I wouldn't have made their life worse in that moment. But that's about the only time I can think that coercion is justified.
Okay.
When the consequences are so incredibly dire, and they're not, you're not going to college, or drugs are dangerous, or don't play with fireworks. All of those things, people understand the risks. It has to be such an immediate danger that if I don't do something in the next 10 seconds, things are going to go wrong.
Got it. Okay.
And that's where I am.
I get it. So, but there's a thing that we deal with here, though. And what about when it's people who you disagree with completely? So these people are doing something that you think is so wrong or so bad. You're personally bothered by it. Like you see it and go, they can't do the things that they're doing. I don't like it at all. Does that change? How do you convince them? What do you do when that's the situation?
So it's
maybe if you think what they're doing is immoral. You think what they're doing is immoral even.
Well, and so I'll give you an example of that, right? There's a couple of terrible examples of that, but the best one we can talk about, right? There's a movie in the theater, Sounds of Freedom. Okay, right? There are people who are trafficking children.
Yep.
Okay. Do I have a right? Do I have a moral imperative to act against them? I believe that I do.
Well, no, in this case, and that's the case, obviously, I think most people would agree, there are clear victims that are being coerced.
Yes.
And you are using coercion to stop coercion.
Yes.
I think most would agree with that.
Right.
I'm saying, though, people are doing things that you disagree with, but there's no actual victim in that no one is saying no to it. Everyone is completely agreeing to this behavior or these actions or this belief system that you are 100% against.
So in that case, you go with the word of tolerance. Okay?
Okay.
And that is a perfect phrase. We have a quote on our website, Let.Live, plug it, from John Kennedy.
Okay.
John Kennedy said, embracing tolerance does not indicate a lack of belief in your values.
Okay.
What it does is it accepts the fact that other people may have different values and you have no right to stop them from living their lives, as long as they're not impacting else. Tolerance doesn't mean me accepting you doing all the things that I like, because I'm not tolerating it then.
Right.
Tolerance means me accepting you doing things that I actually don't approve of, but I realize I have no right to stop you from doing that.
Okay.
And we have plenty of examples of that, right? I tolerate Republicans and Democrats. They do lots of stuff that I don't have, that I don't like, but I don't have any right to stop them other than trying to persuade other people from doing it. That doesn't stop them from using coercion against me.
That's true, yes.
I don't think that I am justified in a military revolution just yet.
There you go. Yes, right.
I don't think that I'm justified in using coercion to try to bring people over to my side.
Got it.
I have to try to persuade them.
Got it. Even in that case. So this to me seems like you are almost an absolutist in that unless there's actually a victim, obviously, taking away the idea of victim, right? Assuming there's no victim.
Right.
I feel like what you're saying is this is 100%. We never want to use coercion. We only want to focus on persuasion.
Yeah, and you know, like everything, you can abstract something, right? Okay. If there's a giant boulder and it's about to roll down the hill,
right?
Okay, and it's going to roll down the hill. Do I have to try to stop it at the bottom of the hill, or should I try to stop it right at the beginning when it starts rolling? There are times where you see that the consequences of what it's going to be is going to require action at that point in time, and so there are times that you can look at a scenario and say, violence is about to happen. And maybe it's going to happen in 5 seconds, maybe it's going to happen in 1 hour, but violence is going to happen, and so I want to take preparations against that. You never want to take away from somebody their free will, their ability to do things. You don't want to coerce them when there is an opportunity to avert that disaster through persuasion.
Okay, so you are already on board here. I love this. You're absolutely already on board. So let me ask the next question then. As you're communicating, as you're talking to others, does the idea of coming at the conversation through a lens of human respect, is that going to make it easier or not as easy? In other words, my worry is, as always, if I start saying, well, we should live and let live only, and that's how we start, does someone go, yeah, but then crazy people killing people, right? Is that what they say? Is that where their head goes? Or do we start with, you know what? We got to think about respecting humans.
Right.
Human respect's number one. And because of that, we should live and let live.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where we are. We talk about the hierarchy of needs, right? In terms of what people really care about. And the number one thing they care about is their own safety, okay? And a lot of times people think that their safety is threatened by something that doesn't actually threaten their safety.
Sure.
But because they have this bad perception in their mind, they say, my safety is threatened, that now justifies me to use coercion.
Right.
And we've got a great example of this on two sides of the issue, okay? One, open carry. Two, drag shows.
Sure.
Those are actually the same issue because it's about visibility.
Agreed.
Okay. Open carry is me showing you, you don't have to be afraid because of the fact that I'm walking around carrying a gun. I'm not doing anything.
Absolutely.
Same thing, that a person walking around in drag isn't a threat to anybody. It's not dangerous. They're just doing their own thing.
Right.
That level of visibility is really important to us. People do get irrationally scared of change.
Sure.
They get scared of things they do, and they confuse the fact, and they try to say, and other people will try to get political power by convincing them you're being threatened.
But don't they do something else, though? Don't they actually dehumanize the other, right?
Absolutely.
If you don't like open carry, you say, oh, those guys are all crazy, whatever, they're all crazy gun nuts, or they're all crazy, they're racists, or whatever, right? You just say that, and you just dehumanize them. And if you're the drag show, oh, those are crazy people who are all degenerates trying to get our children. Right. So we just turn them into the thing, and then we dehumanize them. And then it becomes okay to use coercion. Because now he's a racist or he's a she's a degenerate.
Dehumanize is the perfect thing about it, because the place where a lot of people do use coercion, I'm a carnivore. Okay, I use coercion against other animals so that I can eat them. And so if you can dehumanize and take away the humanity out of somebody, suddenly it doesn't seem like coercion anymore because you've justified it.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that if we are a human being, we are always humans. And the idea that there is
the respect for the human actually helps to stop the idea of dehumanizing the open carry or the drag show.
Exactly. And a lot of times people say there should be a hierarchy based on intelligence. Okay, these people don't know enough to take care of themselves, and that's a form of dehumanizing. But there is a basic reality. I like to say, education is the cut on the diamond of intelligence.
Okay.
But we're all gems. We all sparkle in the right light. Every human being has that sparkle within them, and achieving that sparkle, that is our real purpose. Finding the sparkle, finding the happiness, and if we stop somebody from doing that, we have dehumanized them because we've taken away the real goal of humanity.
Got it. I like that. So if I hear you right, you're saying we do want to focus on human respect so that we can get the message across, so that we can hopefully persuade people to do the right thing.
Yeah, and I would even say that you can juxtapose the words. You can say human respect, and you can say respect humanity.
Okay.
Those two things are the same thing. And if you're not respecting humanity, you don't have human respect. And if you're not respecting humanity, you are engaging in a situation where you allow others to do the same thing and not respect other humans, not respect humanity, and take that away from them, dehumanize them. We're never supposed to be doing that. And that's what coercion does. Coercion violates the value of human respect because it stops you from respecting humanity.
I love that. Live and let live. Thank you.
My pleasure, Larry.
Good seeing you, Dan.